it makes me feel good that I can help or do something. Everybody's put on earth to accomplish something and do something, not just for their own self. So that way I'll feel like I have made my life worthwhile to others than just myself. Won't have a purpose, I guess maybe this is it.
In 1976 we started working together, and mostly that was he would buy what he wanted to buy, invest in what he wanted to invest in. He always looked like he looked, which was like he had no money. I mean, you could see him one time he might have some kind of a belt on, another time it might be a bungee cord holding his pants up. And he was always, you know, he loved cars, but he would show up at the office on a bicycle.
I knew him as a child because he fixed our TV set. So he used to come up to them, and who would have thought he had all this money?
Well, the backstory is it could have been hugely different for the family, as well as for himself. But the fact of the matter is, you know, his life, when he was a child, he had a paper route, and he talked about, he delivered the Oregon Journal on the east side of Medford, I think at the age of 12. And he had to pay room and board at home. And so the rest of the money he kept. And that's when he started saving money. And I think he did business with most every broker in town from a stock or bond standpoint. As he sat in my office and said, you know, I want to do something good with this money. And his words were, this money has done me no good and my family no good. And I want to do some good with it.
We're taking seeds and spreading it throughout the earth to grow. And so each of those dollars is being planted somewhere to provide nurturing growth that will then multiply tenfold, hundredfold, 1,000-fold.
He met one time with the board, and they got a glimpse of him, and the fact that he understood change, and change would be necessary, and there wasn't anything you could just set in stone.
Here we had the opportunity of saying, wow, what do we want to do? And how do we establish what it is we want to do? And how do we track what we're doing?
We have independent board members. We all have our own backgrounds. We all have our own mission, but yet within that group, the synergy pulls together and we become one.
We wanted to know what he wanted to, what he thought, and he was clearly excited about helping people help themselves.
I think we all know in our heart what good means, and that's paying it forward. So I like the idea of paying it forward. We take what we have and help the next generation.
We're a small philanthropy in Southern Oregon, and we're here to invest in youth, individuals, families, and communities, and we do that by building capacity in individuals through programs that exist, through providing a space for a number of nonprofits in the area, and also by leveraging resources to build the capacity of individuals and nonprofits so that they can serve the community better.
The organization came to us a year ago and said, you know what? You're doing really good, but you got to grow up as an organization. You got to have a strategic plan. You have to have a stronger board. You need board training. And write a grant to us and we'll give it to you to get board training. And we did, and she did, or they did. And we just went through a round of training, and it's absolutely made our board a better group, and we actually have a strong plan now. And so if it weren't for Gordon Elwood, we wouldn't be where we are today.
The Gordon Elwood Foundation has been a real major player for us. Kathy Bryan is also a mentor. She has really helped me to access other foundations and helped to build community connections.
The first time I was involved with the Gordon Elwood Foundation was when Pedro Cabrera came up to me and asked me, you know, after I told him about my experience in high school, he said, well, that's not okay, that shouldn't happen to anybody. So he said, I want to create a program called HOW now, Hispanic Academic Outreach Program, where we can reach those kids that are being left behind and encourage them and motivate them and give them the extra help that they need so that they can go to college or they can have a career and do something with their lives. It helps create the belief that college is right around the corner and that it's accessible and that you can get there.
The foundation make a huge difference. I don't think migrant students will be able to get the after-school tutoring that they get if it wasn't because people like Kathy and Pedro and many others were interested about students.
For me, it's that concept that giving a person a fish just feeds them today, but teaching them to fish will take care of them for a lifetime. And while we recognize that we need to take care of today, I think the biggest piece is that we really, really focus on let's take care of tomorrow.
We have to live in these communities. And, you know, it's our time and our place. And if we don't make significant contributions to the community in time and effort and money and every way that we can, then the community suffers.
You know, I give a lot of credit to the Gordon Elwood Foundation for this. I think that they have, both in their board as well as their director, some of the best leaders in our valley. And I think they really use the platform of the foundation to really think systemically, think entrepreneurially, think in very investment kind of oriented ways about where will we get good return on investment given what we know to be the assets and the strengths that are in our community.
And I remember at lunch with her, Kathy saying, "We're going to do this here. You have to help me. We're going to do this." And all I said was, yeah. And I ignored it. And then 3 years later, we built the container group that then ultimately put on the learning community for 140 leaders in our community.
And it was a great draw for our community. It was great in terms of getting people's attention to want to support it. It's a great partnership, and it was another way, again, to leverage the power that United Way can have as an organization.
The learning community is one of the few movements I can think of, in all the movements in our country even, that didn't grow out of tragedy. It grew out of interest and affection and love of community. And that's different.
It's a continuing experience. I don't see it as something that's happened and that's done. I see it as something that's been ongoing and it's grown. We haven't stopped the process, and the Gordon Elwood Foundation has been really instrumental in keeping it in the front, keeping everyone focused on our community in a broader way and helping facilitate forums that allow us to work together more effectively and efficiently.
Giving away money is hard. If you're going to do a good job of it, it's very hard work.
We are able to take Gordon's money and leverage through our visions and our abilities beyond what some of the grant requesters think they need or wish they had.
I can speak closely with one of the other groups that I'm very involved with on the board, and that's Kids Unlimited. Starting out very tiny with $25,000 and now a multi-million-dollar agency.
Today, the building and the programs represent a journey. I mean, they represent what can happen in a community when people begin to understand that, first of all, that there's a need, and more importantly, what can happen when people really start to embrace the ideology that every kid deserves an opportunity.
I think sometimes we give seed money, maybe we give money to organizations or nonprofits that other foundations might not give at first. We do a little more outreach.
College Dreams is a program that's dedicated to identifying students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade that have lots and lots of potential, bright kids, but kids that are going home to situations where they have some real challenges.
College Dreams was important, is still today important in many ways in my life. They gave me a way to be able to see beyond what the world was throwing at me. They really taught me the definition that Circumstances do not define me, I define my circumstances.
The whole concept of higher education through the Academia Latino, which is put on at the university every summer. We were one of the very first funders of that program, and we funded it for 3 or 4 years, and it's an enormous success.
My hope for the Hispanic community in the Rogue Valley is to bridge the gap between the education system and the Hispanic families. And just, I think we're starting to create a bridge, and through the Gordon Elwood Foundation, through Club Latino, through Academia Latina, all of these programs that are being, that are held in place, I think they're really helping to bridge the gap between the Latino student and the academic system and how it works. And helping students to realize that, there's all, you don't just wake up one day and say, I want to go to college. High school is the years where you work. You work hard and you start accumulating something for yourself, and it should be like a stepping stone to college.
But when you can identify that those folks have been able to change their lifestyle, they've been able to achieve their goal, they've been able to break the cycle of whatever it was they were caught in domestic violence or whatever. How can you not measure success by having the results demonstrate for you that the objective was met?
As far as the values and the values that we felt Gordon was looking to pass on and to see out there in the future would be helping those who would not normally get a chance.
The struggle comes in trying to find the line between being immediately helpful and reserving resources to get involved in programs that will have a long-term effect.
We founded Listo about 17 years ago. Back then there was very little Spanish support for parents with Spanish-speaking students in the schools. The kids run into all sorts of challenges in the schools. And Listo is here to remind them that their culture is important too, and that they need to be able to navigate between two cultures, and that's what Listo's all about.
My hope for the future is for every single student to graduate, regardless of if they're Latinos or not. I really hope for the future that every single student gets an opportunity to go to college, and if they don't, it's because they made that choice.
There was one grant application that we had one time that was about health, and one of the board members said, Kathy, could you just change the healthcare system and just make it better now? And we started the ball rolling with some conversations with some other very good thinkers that work globally, that live in our area.
I think it's a critical piece for our region to be able to have all the key stakeholders in health and healthcare for our region to come together and talk about what are the emerging needs for our community, and then to be able to leverage the resources at the table to move those needs into solutions.
The value of the Health Alliance, it got people in a room that gradually expanded to include other providers, the clinics, the other physician groups. All of a sudden, these people were in a room talking to each other. And the Elwood Foundation, I think, deserves all the credit for bringing this together.
I think what we're starting to see now is exactly what the Elwood Foundation has accomplished with the Jefferson Regional Health Alliance, is the knowledge that some things require patience and persistence over time to get to the desired results.
Philanthropy doesn't have an end. It challenges you to be creative because of the applicants.
I'm thrilled to see when people reach their dreams. So for me, when I meet the students that I've met, or the little kids and watch them having grown up into big kids, or watch people graduating with their degrees that they didn't think they'd ever have a chance to get, that's what makes me tick. I love that.
This is a small board, and again, we can give our individual attention. We can actually go out on these site visits. We can actually, we are actually a part of the community. And so then giving back to the community, I think, takes on even a fuller mission for us.
So that willingness to say, we are in this for the long haul with you. We recognize that you have to go step by step by step, and we're willing to stick out that with you and just hang in there and see you through that journey is really important to me.
I think the lessons to be learned from Gordon is to not be inward and insular, and to become engaged in your community, whatever your community might be.
I think he really would be proud of what we've done and the people, because he didn't have that success in his life.
It's really nice to be able to be a part of something that goes way beyond yourself. It has, it's not about money or anything from a personal standpoint. It's about the satisfaction of knowing that at least you were involved in helping other people.
As Gordon said, you just never know what's going to happen. Things change all the time. I think if he heard some of the young people talk about what's changed for them as a result of being part of College Dreams or Kids Unlimited, I think that he would be surprised that he had something to do with that. And I think he would be honored, most definitely.
Perhaps there's another gift that Gordon has given us, the gift of understanding. How many times have we looked away as the down and out sort drew near? These are folks who often have many needs. Perhaps chief among them is the need for the occasional friendly word from their fellow citizens. Don't assume that raggedy fellow you pass on the sidewalk has nothing to offer. There's often much, much more to people than meets the eye. A kind word, a friendly hello. Maybe that's how we can best say thanks to Gordon Elwood for what he's given us.